This is your Monday devotion. I got behind and didn't get it done yesterday. I'm really recording this on Tuesday, but I want to continue my study on encouragement. And we looked at Hebrews 10:24, where we were challenged to consider ways that we could stimulate one another by encouragement. And I got to tell you, that's such an important thing. And I think this is a well worthwhile study. Second thing we looked at is that we should never use words that would be discouraging. We can encourage in one breath and then say but, or something else in addition to the encouragement. And that old adage about it takes 5 attaboys for one darn you to equal out. And so we want to be sure that our words are edifying and not a word of discouragement, especially tied into a word of encouragement. Know that some of you probably have experienced that, where somebody said, "I really appreciate you, but," or "that was good work, but." That's not going to be an encouragement. So let's take a look at some truths. When we share the truth with somebody, and we want to encourage only when it's true, when we share the truth with somebody, truth without relationship equals legalism. Now, let me say that again. Truth without relationship is legalism. Now, whether that's for encouragement or whether that's a rebuke, if we say a truth without having a relationship with the person, it's just plain legalism. If we only compliment somebody or encourage somebody when it's something that we have to do, it does not accomplish the same goal. Second thing is, relationship without truth is superficial and sentimentality. So when we tell a truth but we don't have a relationship with somebody, it becomes very superficial, not very meaningful, mostly sentiment. So the conclusion is that if we want to have effective encouragement with somebody, we must have a relationship with them. A kind of relationship where they know the value of our encouragement, or if it had to be a rebuke, the value of our rebuke. That again, remember, one of the principles we've looked at is that all of this has to be done in love. So we need to remember those things. The motivation of love is the greatest motivation for both gentle rebukes, truth said in love, or encouragement, which is the greatest of all. And Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians 5:11, encouragement is important. And so here's what he said. He said, encourage one another, build up one another. Now, let me just share a practical application. And I remember a pastor sharing this with me one time. Suppose a dear friend comes to you, and they've been reading the Bible, or they've been praying, and God answers their prayer, or as they've been reading, they see an incredible truth, and they come to you all excited, and they say, boy, I was reading the Bible, and all of a sudden this truth came to me. Or it could even be something you've shared, and they said, wow, that's really neat. And then you say, oh yeah, I remember learning that 20 years ago. Well, I got to tell you, when somebody shares a truth, even though you may have had that truth 20 years before, if you tell them, that's nothing special, I saw that 20 years ago, you have just thrown a wet blanket on somebody that was on fire. Somebody that was excited and thought that God really spoke to them, which he did, but you threw a wet blanket on it because you said, oh yeah, I saw that 20 years ago. So we want to remember when we're encouraging people, not to say a holier than thou kind of a statement, which allows them to feel inferior in the excitement of that encouragement that they got. So let's take a look at some laws of encouragement. Lots of times encouragement comes from understanding something more than giving advice. Let me say that again. Sometimes encouragement comes by way of understanding something much better than giving advice. Let me just give you an example. Suppose somebody comes to you and says, my mate hurt me so badly by. And you just say, man, I can remember when my mate one time or another did that to me, and I know how badly that hurts. And I'm really praying for you. That's an encouragement. First of all, it's an encouragement that we all hurt one another accidentally, not necessarily intentionally. But notice there was no advice given. It was just an understanding. And lots of times just knowing that somebody understands what you're going through is an encouragement. If somebody's been through a knee replacement or a hip replacement or a surgery of some kind, and they say, I understand, I went through that same procedure and I remember how bad it hurt, without giving any advice about minimizing or how fast the remembrance of that pain or discomfort goes away, just understanding is an encouragement to somebody that's hurting. Second law of encouragement is that relationships are based on acceptance and not condemnation. We need to accept people for who they are. We're all imperfects. We are all imperfects. There's not one person that I know that's perfect. It includes myself. There's nobody that's imperfect. And we need to accept one another based on our imperfections. Acceptance and love. Third law for encouragement is to understand people's desires to have security and significance. We all want to feel secure in relationship and in our significance, that we count, that we matter. A number of months ago, I got back in touch with somebody from my high school days and kind of just reviewed my life since we had seen each other before. And, this person didn't say a lot of words to me, but they just said, I'm proud of you. Understanding that people need security and significance. I felt significance. And it was a wonderful word of encouragement. And number 4, never underestimate the value of listening and of prayer. Sometimes people just need you to listen. They don't need any advice. They don't need any additional encouragement. They just need to know you care enough to take the time to listen, to let them vent, to let them pour out their heart and get some of these things out of their head and heart and out into the open, where somebody can just empathize. Cry with those that cry, laugh with those that laugh, encourage one another, for the day's drawing near. That's what the scripture says. And that's what Paul said to the Thessalonians. That's what he said to the Ephesians. He said, encourage one another, build one another up. There's enough of things in this world that tear us down. We don't need any more tearing down. We just need to help and encourage one another. And when it's sincere encouragement developed out of a relationship and love, there's nothing better for our spirit than to get a word of encouragement. That's your thought for the day. God bless you. Have a great day.